So, hi everyone. Welcome to another podcast episode, another meeting. If you are listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, you can find out more about our online community, these meetings, paid private mentoring with myself if it interests you. On the website, it's www.acimwithkeith.com. All right. In the group this week, the Facebook group, we had three different people. I saw the first question and went, I really need to do a podcast about that. It was a question on manifesting and how manifesting fits in with A Course in Miracles, whether it's compatible with A Course in Miracles. And I thought, I'm overdue doing a podcast episode on that. And then another one arrives all of a sudden about manifesting. And I thought, okay, that's definitely a hint. We should talk about this in this week's podcast episode. And then a third one arrived, and I went, okay, right, I don't really have a choice. That's what we got to talk about in this week's episode. And we will. We're going to talk about manifesting. Is it what A Course in Miracles is teaching? Is it compatible with A Course in Miracles? And so let's dig into the book itself. Let's get a quote here. Our sense of inadequacy, weakness, and incompletion comes from the strong investment in the scarcity principle that governs the whole world of illusions. From that point of view, scarcity, lack, we seek in others what we feel is wanting in ourselves. We love another in order to get something ourselves. That, in fact, is what passes for love in the dream world. There can be no greater mistake than that. For love is incapable of asking for anything. So this loving to get is called special love. Only minds can really join, and whom God has joined, no man can put asunder. It is, however, only at the level of the Christ mind that true union is possible and has, in fact, never been lost. The little I seeks to enhance itself by external approval, external possessions, and external love. The self that God created needs nothing. It is forever complete, safe, loved, and loving. It seeks to share rather than to get, to extend rather than project. It has no needs and wants to join with others out of their mutual awareness of abundance. That's from the introduction, the preface to A Course in Miracles. And here we come to the very nub of A Course in Miracles, the little I, the self you made out of thoughts that is not the Son of God. And nothing it seems to think or do means anything. It is neither bad nor good. It is unreal and nothing more than that. It's a story in your mind about you, the separate self, and your guilty past, and your victimized past, and your frightening future, and it's a big bunch of thoughts with a ring around them, and you're going, that's me. That's the little lie. So what happens is the Course says, we attack the Christ in us to identify with the ego. The Course says to identify with the ego, the thought system of separateness. To identify with the ego is to attack yourself. So this is what we do. We attack the Christ we are to jump into thoughts, misidentify, identify as a little I, which is immediately experienced as lack, limitation, dissatisfaction, self-hatred immediately. All the sin, guilt, and fear, we plunge into it the minute we choose the ego. The minute we choose to identify as what the ego tells us we're, a little I, pain begins, the suffering begins, the lack begins. And now begins the sole activity of the imaginary separate self, the self that is not the Son of God. And the activity is seeking and resisting and grasping and grievances and special love and special hate. The minute we misidentify as an ego, as a little I, we experience pain. And now everything is about trying to avoid further pain and trying to medicate the pain with pleasure. That's the sole activity of the little I. I am in terrible pain. Wholeness is not here. Now I must try to avoid further pain by pushing situations away from me. And now I need to grasp at moments of pleasure that will medicate the pain of my misidentification. Grasping and grievances, special love and special hate. This is good, this is bad. This is the activity of the ego, and it is what hell is. Misidentification and this never ending struggle to avoid pain and to medicate pain with pleasure, to make the pain stop, to make it more bearable, to sedate it for a few moments before it comes back. Because this little I is incredibly painful. Incredibly painful. So that's what that passage is saying from the introduction to A Course in Miracles. Let's read it again. Our sense of inadequacy, misidentified, weakness, and incompletion comes from the strong investment in the scarcity principle. The me is lacking. The little I is incomplete. That governs the whole world of illusions. From that point of view, we, misidentified, seek in others what we feel is wanting in ourselves. We love another in order to get something for ourselves. We want to cannibalize them. We want them to provide what's lacking in ourselves instead of fixing the misidentification that's causing the illusory sense of lack. We keep the me. We keep the little I, and now we use everyone in our life who are supposed to behave exactly as we want them to behave, so we don't have to feel how appalling it is to be a little I. That, in fact, is what passes for love in the dream world. There can be no greater mistake than that, for love is incapable of asking for anything. Only minds can really join, and whom God has joined, no man can put asunder. It is, however, only at the level of the Christ mind that true union is possible and has, in fact, never been lost. The little I seeks to enhance itself by external approval, external possessions, and external love. The self that God created needs nothing. It is forever complete, safe, loved, and loving. It seeks to share rather than to get, to extend rather than project. It has no needs and wants to join with others out of their mutual awareness of abundance. When you misidentify as an ego, as a little I, you go out into the world in your youth seeking to control it, to manipulate it, to get in it, to push away in it, to try to establish a lasting happiness for yourself. And you do that up until you're around about in your 40s or your 50s. And at that point, most people realize this didn't work. Everything I ever said would make me happy that I got didn't make me happy. I had 5 minutes before it started turning to ashes in my mouth and I wanted something else. I've been seeking and resisting all my life and nothing has worked. So now I'm going to finish with the outward journey and I'm going to start on the inward journey to discover the truth of what I am. And that's the spiritual path. Now, in the beginning, we're still ego identified. We're still identifying as the little I. So when we approach the subject of spirituality, we go at it by seeking and resisting, grasping and grievances, special love and special hate. We're on a mission. We're going to find this salvation in the future. We're still chasing moving goalposts. We're still saying salvation will come as an event in the future and that will save me. And that's still wrong. That's still wrong. Because salvation can only be now. Only ever now. And we're going to talk about that. Let's move on with some more quotes. You know, so when we talk about manifestation, is A Course in Miracles. So we've talked about a getting mechanism in your mind. There's a liking and hating machine in your mind. It's just thoughts. There's absolutely no identity in it whatsoever. But when you misidentify with thoughts, you think yourself a person who is the hating and liking machine. You're not. You're not a little I. So does A Course in Miracles, go, listen, there is one cause of all your problems and one solution. And here is A Course in Miracles. One solution to everything. Does A Course in Miracles say the answer to lasting happiness is for you to satisfy and indulge the liking and hating machine? Is A Course in Miracles going to tell you how to have more money? Will that save you? Is A Course in Miracles going to tell you how to make the body stronger? Will that save you? Is A Course in Miracles going to tell you how to change the outer circumstances of your life? Will that save you? No. No, it won't. And you should know that at this point in time. You have spent X amount of years chasing after one moving goalpost after another. I will be happy when. I could be happy if. I will be happy if only. Because you think you're the little I. You think you're the voice in your head that is a hating and liking machine, that's pushing and pulling and grasping and holding grievances, that special loves some things and special hates others. And you think that's you. Is A Course in Miracles going to provide what that little I wants instead of God? No. A Course in Miracles is not for people who want to manifest stuff, new goalposts to chase. Course in Miracles is for people who've already realized that won't work. That's who A Course in Miracles is for. It's for those who have realized the me, the little I, can only ever be pain, lack, inadequacy, a big black hole nothing can fill, no matter how much grasping, no matter how much special love, no matter how much I would be happy if only. It's a big black hole of emptiness because it's nothing and it's not what you are. So Course in Miracles comes in with a completely different message. Course in Miracles goes, listen, your misery has nothing to do with what's happening in the world. It has to do with the little I that you take yourself to be. That's the cause of all your misery. That's the one cause of all your problems. And this is A Course in Miracles. It's going to give you the one solution to all your problems, the only lasting happiness you will ever know. That's what A Course in Miracles is for. You know, in Helen's time, um, she said quite famously that A Course in Miracles was probably only for about 6 or 7 people. And everyone laughed. And everyone still laughs. They go, wasn't she silly? But they're trying to manifest with A Course in Miracles. They're chasing moving goalposts with A Course in Miracles. See, Helen knew what the Course said. See, anyone laughing at Helen saying that doesn't know what A Course in Miracles is saying. Course in Miracles is going, have you suffered enough? Have you seen that you've banged your head off a brick wall all your life? Is that what you want to do until the grave? Or do you want to discover the truth of what you are, which is stunning and is also the truth of everything and everyone around you? Will you spend all your time having grievances and graspings until your last breath? Or are you ready for the other way? Because this is it. So, this is from chapter 19, section 4b, paragraph 12, line 1. It is impossible to seek for pleasure through the body and not find pain. It is essential that this relationship be understood, for it is one the ego sees as proof of sin. It is not really punitive at all. It is but the inevitable result of equating yourself with the body, which is the invitation to pain. For it invites fear to enter and become your purpose. The attraction of guilt must enter with it, and whatever fear directs the body to do is therefore painful. It will share the pain of all illusions, and the illusion of pleasure will be the same as pain. The ego's pleasure is not the Holy Spirit's joy. It is a sedative for pain. Once you're in the world trying to avoid pain and seek for pleasure to fix how inadequate you feel, to satisfy the need for titillation and distraction from yourself, because it's so appalling being with yourself, that attempt to medicate the awfulness, the mediocrity, the dissatisfaction, the lack that is inherent in misidentification. That pleasure that will stimulate me out of this dissatisfaction is a medicine for the dissatisfaction. It's not joy. It's not joy. And as long as you're seeking pleasure to medicate how awful it is to identify as a little me, you cannot know joy. As this paragraph just told us, the pain and the pleasure are the same. The pain is the pain of misidentifying. And the pleasure is what you have to do with the pain of misidentifying. Seek salvation in the next moment. Seek salvation in the future. Seek and do not find. Chase moving goalposts to try to satisfy what can't be satisfied. To try to end the painful limitation of what's here when you don't know who you are. The chain of the little I, the me, the self that's not the Son of God, that veils from you the glorious truth of what you are and what everyone is. This is from also chapter 27. This is from section 6, and it's from paragraph 2, line 1. Sin, which is separateness, which is lack of love, sin shifts from pain to pleasure and again to pain. For either witness is the same and carries but one message. You are here within this body and you can be hurt. You can have pleasure too, but only at the cost of pain. These witnesses are joined by many more. Each one seems different because it has a different name. And so it seems to answer to a different sound. Except for this, the witnesses of sin are all alike. Call pleasure pain, and it will hurt. Call pain a pleasure, and the pain behind the pleasure will be felt no more. Sin's witnesses but shift from name to name as one steps forward and another back. Yet which is foremost, pleasure or pain, makes no difference. Sin, which is separation, the little I, the ego, sin's witnesses hear but the call of death. If you are trying to avoid pain or chasing after pleasure, you are answering the call of death. You are saying, I am the little I. I am the body that was born and that will die. The body's pain is my pain. The body's limitations are my limitations. The body's death is my death. You're misidentified. You're selfing. You've jumped into thoughts, put a ring around a whole load of the ego thought system and go, that's me. Concept. And every pleasure you pursue and every pain you push away from you reinforces that you are this abomination. Albeit imaginary, nothing to do with what you are, but this nightmare. They're the same. Pleasure and pain is the same. They witness to the fact that you think you're an illusion of yourself and you don't know God's Son. Okay, this is also from chapter 27, and it's section 6, paragraph 4, lines 8. Each miracle he brings is witness that the body is not real. Its pains and pleasures does he heal alike. For all sin's witnesses do his replace. Course in Miracles wants to bring you beyond pleasure and pain to the still point. It transcends everything and yet incorporates everything. This is what A Course in Miracles wants to show you, which is God's Son. It wants for you to be able to let go of your misidentification with a little I. Let's continue with a few more quotes. 27 again, chapter 27, and this is section 6, paragraph 6, line 6. Yet the one, the Holy Spirit, the symbol of who you really are, yet the one who sends forth miracles to bless the world, a tiny stab of pain, a little worldly pleasure, and the throes of death itself are but a single sound, a call for healing. Son of God doesn't know who he is. And a plaintive cry for help within a world of misery, the misery of the little I, the ego, the self you made that's not the Son of God, that's not who you are. The self-concept, which bears no resemblance to yourself whatsoever. In that misidentification is your plaintive cry for help within a world of misery. A world where there's only pain and scraps of pleasure to temporarily medicate it. It is their sameness that the miracle attests, pleasure and pain. It is their sameness that it proves when it transcends them. The laws that call them different are dissolved and shown as powerless. The purpose of a miracle is to accomplish this, and God himself has guaranteed the strength of miracles for what they witness to. So we're going to move to workbook lesson 131. Why wait for heaven? It's here today. Time is the great illusion. It is past or in the future. This cannot be. If it is where God wills his Son to be, that's you. How could the will of God be in the past or yet to happen? What he wills is now, without a past and wholly futureless. It is as far removed from time as is a tiny candle from a distant star, or what you choose from what you really want. What you choose is pleasure. What you choose is defenses against your pain and self-hatred. What you want in everything that you're seeking, what you really want is to remember who you are. Oh, you're looking in all the wrong places, but what you want is the restoration of your birthright. The happiness that lasts. And that's salvation. So to continue with that quote, heaven remains your one alternative to this strange world you made and all its ways, its shifting patterns and uncertain goals, its painful pleasures and its tragic joys. God made no contradictions. What denies its own existence and attacks itself is not of him. What's that? The little I. The little I seems to have attacked its own existence and denied itself. But it's not true. It's an illusion. It's a misidentification. It's an assumption of what you are that's painfully wrong. And it's not true. And A Course in Miracles says you can know the truth, but you can only find it now. You cannot seek for it in the future. If you're anywhere except now, you cannot know the Son whom God created. Any decision you ever make to be anywhere other than now is a decision for unhappiness and a life of hopeless seeking and resisting until the grave. There's an alternative. There's an alternative. And A Course in Miracles is the alternative. He did not make two minds. He didn't make the little I. He didn't make the Keith in terrible pain, lashing out at others so he can hate himself less, seeking after approval, seeking after riches, seeking after success to try to make the pain stop. He didn't make that. That doesn't exist. It's an illusion. It's an assumption. It's a mistake. God did not make the little I you think he made and knows nothing about it. He did not make two minds, with heaven the glad effect of one, and earth the other's sorry outcome, which is heaven's opposite in every way. Lesson 25. Purpose is meaning. Let's remind ourselves that the first workbook lesson tells us nothing I see means anything. Does it have a meaning? But we later learn that this illusion, the world, has no meaning, but it can have a purpose. And purpose is to teach you who you are. Not just what you are, what everyone is. The meaningless can have a purpose. And that's the Holy Spirit's plan. So purpose is meaning. Today's idea explains why nothing you see means anything. You do not know what it is for, because you've made up what it's for. The only meaning it has is forgiveness. Because forgiveness is the means for you to discover the Son who God created and that you've never been anything else apart from. That's what the world is for. That's its temporary purpose. The purpose of the meaningless is for you to discover the truth of what you are with everyone else. Not a little I that accomplishes something on its own. That doesn't exist. That's the purpose of the world, is forgiveness. It has no other purpose. If you believe it has a different purpose, you're going to be locked into the ego's seeking and resisting, and grasping and grievances, and pushing and pulling, and special love and special hate, seeking and resisting, seeking but never finding until death. If you think the world has a purpose other than forgiveness, that's what you'll do. Apparently. Apparently. Not really. Because you still are as God created you, despite your dreams made of identification with thoughts. You do not know what it is for. When you're seeking and resisting, when you're looking to shift it and change it and shift the deck chairs on the Titanic, you don't know what the world is for. Therefore, it is meaningless to you. Everything is for your own best interests. Here is this incredibly important theme of A Course in Miracles. What is the way this present moment that is appearing? What is it for? Always, it is for your own best interests. Everything is a step for you to undo the little I delusion and come to know the Son of God that you are. Everything is for that. Everything is for your own best interests, for awakening, to learn the end of suffering, to undo the painful misidentification and know what you are. Everything is for that. Everything is for your own best interests. That is what it's for. That is its purpose. That is what it means. It is in recognizing this that your goals become unified. One goal. Who is the Son of God? What am I? It is in recognizing this that what you see is given meaning. You perceive the world and everything in it as meaningful in terms of ego goals. There's a liking and hating machine made of thoughts in your mind, wanting this and not wanting that, and chasing after this and pushing this away, and craving after this, and disgusted by other things, and insisting what it wants and it doesn't want. That's the machine made of thoughts in your mind that you call me, which has nothing to do with you. You perceive the world, instead of this moment being perfect for the forgiveness process that awakens you to the truth of what you are, you're perceiving the world and everything and everyone in it as meaningful in terms of the goals of the liking and hating machine that you think is you. The one that's seeking its salvation in the next moment, when it fiddles with this one, when it pushes it away or grasps at it and tries to hold it, to try to medicate its pain. These goals have nothing to do with your own best interests because the ego is not you. Now, note that well. That liking and hating machine in your mind, chasing after what it thinks will make it happy, hating what it fears can take the little happiness it has from it, that's not you. All that liking and hating, and that's good and that's bad, and I like this and I don't like this, and preferences and aversions, yes, there is that appearance in your mind. It's not you. That's not the Son of God. That's an illusion. The ego is not you. The little I is not you. The seeking and resisting is not you. The desire to be in a better moment than this one isn't you. The war of the ego with the present moment, the hating of it, the resisting of it, the criticizing of it, the pushing it away, and the attempt to escape the present moment where heaven is for a better future imaginary moment where we fiddle with the deck chairs on the Titanic, that's not you. It's not you. Lesson 52. I have no private thoughts. What are private thoughts? The me's, liking and hating, special love and special hate, seeking and resisting, grasping and grievances, chasing after happiness in the next moment to try to sedate its misery. It's not you. It's not what you are. In this moment, that's not what you are. Those are thoughts that belong to no one, that mean nothing, that have nothing to do with your reality. The ego isn't you. There's no ego, there's just thoughts. When you grasp onto the thoughts and call them yours, and you think that these thoughts about what you need to get and what you need to manifest and what you need in your life to be happy, you think that's you. That's nothing to do with you. Those thoughts are an illusion. I have no private thoughts. It's only because I'm not a little I self. What are private thoughts? The thoughts that seem to arise on behalf of the little I. The lacking, needing, wanting, miserable creature of time. That's what private thoughts are. And they're an illusion. They don't belong to anyone. You already are as God created you right now. You perceive the world and everything in it as meaningful in terms of ego goals. That's a good thing. That's a bad thing. I don't want that. I want more of this. I can't have this in my life. I need to have this in my life. You're not seeing the world for forgiveness. You're seeing it in terms of ego goals, which have nothing to do with you because you're not an ego. Your only goal is now, this moment, where God is, where heaven is, the now. That's your real goal. When you identify with that mess in your head and call it me, you think you have a different goal than that, which involves blaming the past and seeking redemption in a future that will never come. And that's got nothing to do with you, got nothing to do with what you want. That's the ego. It's a thought system. It's not an entity. Got nothing to do with you. So to continue, you perceive the world and everything in it as meaningful in terms of the ego's goals. Seeking and resisting, grasping and grievances, special love, special hate, chasing moving goalposts. These goals have nothing to do with your own best interests because the ego is not you. This false identification as the little I makes you incapable of understanding what anything is for. It's just for forgiveness. It's for salvation. It's for you to realize the liking and hating machine in your mind isn't you and discover the wholeness that's already here. That's what everything is for. And the means of that is forgiveness. As a result, you're bound to misuse it. When you believe this, you will try to withdraw the goals you have assigned to the world instead of attempting to reinforce them. Another way of describing the goals you now perceive is to say that they are all concerned with personal interests. The little I, what I need, what I hate, what I want. Since you have no personal interests, because you're not the little I, that voice in your head isn't you. You're just misidentifying with it. It's a bunch of thoughts. There's no identity in it. It's got nothing to do with your reality. Since you have no personal interests, because you're not a person, your goals are really concerned with nothing. In cherishing them, therefore, you have no goals at all. And thus you do not know what anything is for, because the only meaningful thing for you to spend every moment of your day doing is the forgiveness that will bring you your birthright of inviolable happiness and joy. Oh, wouldn't it be so much better if I won the lottery? Be happy when I meet someone. Be happy when I have a child. You've no goals at all. You're keeping the I. You're keeping the little I. And you're saying, I will medicate it. I'll fix it. I'll find someone who'll fix it. I can fix the little lie. I can make it work. I just won the lottery. If I get a new job, if I can get away from my boss, if the pain in my toe goes away, you've no goals at all. Because everything is for your best interest. What's in your best interests now? This moment is perfect. Perfect for you to remember what you are. This moment is perfect. This one, exactly as it is, exactly as it's appearing, is what's perfect for you. Every single element of your life right now is for your own best interests. But the little lie is there, pushing some away, grasping some towards it, and scared of losing bits, and trying to hold on to bits, and trying to pretend it doesn't see bits, and it's pushing and pulling, seeking and resisting, special love and special hate, grasping and grievances, desperately trying to save itself from what is in your own best interests now. Exactly where you should be now. So any goal at all that says my happiness is when something happens in the future is your damnation of yourself, is your denial of the Holy Spirit, is your divorcing of yourself from love and happiness. And now you'll have to make do with the little love, the special love, the cannibalistic one, and the hatred that must be alongside it. It's the best you can do. It's awful. It's all you can do when you misidentify. You're stuck with it. Always trying to escape where salvation is, which is this moment. Forcing the way home to yourself, pushing it away from you, refusing it, like an insane patient refusing their medicine. You're pushing it away. You're saying, no, I don't want this moment. This isn't heaven. Heaven's in the next moment. I'm gonna find something to save me. The little lie in the future. No, you won't. Only the now is real. Everything else is thoughts. It's a story in your mind. It's a story of a person that isn't real. That's a fiction made of thoughts. And there's a story that this fictional person made of thoughts will somehow find happiness in the future. They're all thoughts. They're concepts. They have nothing to do with you. Meanwhile, happiness is your birthright, the truth of what you are right now in this moment, and you're veiling it from yourself with seeking and resisting, with special love and special hate, with pushing and pulling. The seeking for happiness is veiling that it's already here. It maintains an imaginary identity structure that's trying to save itself at an imaginary future moment. And all the while, your birthright is here now, outside of thoughts, outside of concepts, inviolable happiness. It's already here in the now. It's the only place you'll ever find it. If you're serious about God, if you're serious about knowing happiness, do not let your attention wander 1 inch from this moment, which is perfect. Perfect. Exactly as it is. Yes, there's a liking and hating machine in your mind. That's got nothing to do with you. You don't have to do anything with that except realize it's not you. It's thoughts. It's nothing. Lesson 4, these thoughts don't mean anything. It's not you. Now, exactly as it's presenting itself, is the only place you ever want to be. Everything else is avoiding heaven to stay in hell, to keep the pleasure and pain, which are two heads of the same coin. Now is where it's at. This moment, totally accepted and completely forgiven as it is. That's heaven. It's already here. It's in the now. But in the now, there's no little I. So again, another way of describing the goals you now perceive. Oh, if only this had happened, if only that had happened, if only the pain in my toe would go away, if only people liked me more, oh, if only I had more money, oh, if I had a different job. Another way of describing the goals you now perceive is to say that they are all concerned with personal interests. Since you, in truth, have no personal interests, your goals are really concerned with nothing. In cherishing them, therefore, you have no goals at all. You think you're a little I. The goals of an imaginary self are no goals at all. They're imaginary. And thus you do not know what anything is for. Forgiveness. Heaven is yours in the forgiveness of this moment, exactly as it is. Never, ever anywhere else. This moment, which is perfect in every way for your return home to the truth of who you are. only moment we ever want is this one, exactly as it is. Everything else is insanity, hopelessness, seek but do not find. Lesson 49. The part of your mind in which truth abides, this is your right mind. It's got nothing to do with the little I, the me, the self you made that's not the Son of God. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God, whether you're aware of it or not. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws, the little I. It is this part that is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain because it thinks its goals can lead to happiness or unhappiness. It's like, oh, I should really change jobs. But then what if my new job is worse than my present job? And then I don't know, should I change jobs? Should I not? Should I stay in this relationship? It's not really making me happy. But what if I never meet anyone else? And then I'll be on my own and then I'll be unhappy. That's the little me. Constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain because it thinks its happiness has to do with future decisions, future accomplishments, manifesting stuff. The part that is listening to the voice for God is calm, always at rest, and wholly certain. It is really the only part there is. The other part, the little I, the liking and hating machine, the other part is a wild illusion, frantic and distraught, but without any reality of any kind. Why not to listen to it today? Try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever. So the decision for hell is the decision to seek for a better moment than this one and to resist the one you have. That will keep you misidentified as the little I. With its ridiculous personal goals, with its puny private thoughts. Misidentified, not knowing the glory of what you are. Chapter 26, Section 6, Paragraph 1. Anything in this world that you believe is good and valuable and worth striving for can hurt you and will do so. Let me repeat that. Your ego's going, please God, no. Anything in this world that you believe is good and valuable and worth striving for can hurt you and will do so. Why? Because you're seeking an imaginary salvation for the little I in the future and not in the now, accepting and forgiving it exactly as it is to remember what you are that's not a little I. Any goal you want in the future means you're keeping the little I. You're keeping the me. It's the only reason you want the goal. I could ask everyone here, what are your personal goals? What are your private goals? What is it you want? And people would say, oh, I want my body to be healthier. I want my family to be happier. I want my relationship to be better. I want to meet a new person. But what if I was a genie and you said, I want a new relationship? I want a bigger house. What if the genie said to you, okay, you can have a new relationship and it'll be really good for 20 years, but then your husband will go insane and murder you. Do you still want the relationship? Do you want it? No. If you don't want a relationship, you want happiness, but you think the relationship will bring happiness. You don't want a relationship, you want happiness. You just don't know where to look for it. You're saying, I need a relationship. I have a personal goal here for a relationship. This will be the answer to my happiness. And the genie says, okay, you can have a new house. It's all going to be great for 10 years. And then there's going to be a home invasion. You want it? Or are you suddenly much happier living in your smaller house? Because you didn't want a big house. You want happiness. And you think the big house is how you get it. The only thing you want is happiness and peace. You're looking for it you want to manifest it in the future. You want to manifest it. Bigger house. It's not there. Because the one that needs it is unhappiness intrinsic to itself. The little I is the decision for misery which nothing can fix. It seek but do not find. You can't keep the lacking self and try to make it happy because that little self can't be happy. The voice in your head that you call me, that has nothing to do with you, it can't be made happy. It is the decision to divorce yourself from happiness and chase after it forever, but never find it. Okay, so anything in this world that you believe is good and valuable, healthier body, bigger house, new relationship, happier kids, different politics, anything. Anything in this world that you believe is good and valuable and worth striving for robs you of the now, where God is, where the truth of what you are is, where the only happiness you will ever know is. Not because it has the power to hurt, but just because you have denied it is but an illusion. It has nothing to do with your happiness because the little lie that's running after it isn't you. You have denied it as but an illusion and made it real. You've said this will satisfy the Son of God. This will be his peace. And it is real to you. It is not nothing, as it should be. And through its perceived reality has entered all the world of sick illusions, all belief in sin, in power of attack, in hurt and harm, in sacrifice and death has come to you. This is the world of the little lie. And every time you seek something in the future for your happiness instead of the forgiveness of this moment exactly as it is, you have chosen the world of sin, attack, hurt, harm, sacrifice, and death. You've made the decision for death to be the thing that will die, the little lie, and not the invulnerable Son of God. To continue, for no one can make one illusion real and still escape the rest. Can you fantasize about you yourself being the body with the bigger house without also having to think the body's death is yours? Without fearing your death, you who are deathless. Can you celebrate the better health of the body and escape fearing its death? Every goal will hurt you. It denies you your atonement path, which is now, this moment, exactly as it is. So this is the Song of Prayer. It's chapter 1, section 3, paragraph 6. It is not easy to realize that prayers for things, for status, for human love, for external gifts of any kind are always made to set up jailers and hide from guilt. These things are used for goals that substitute for God, who is yourself, and therefore distort the purpose of prayer, which is oneness with God. The desire for them is the prayer. One need not ask explicitly. The goal of God is lost in the quest for lesser goals of any kind, and prayer becomes requests for enemies. The power of prayer can be quite clearly recognized even in this. No one who wants an enemy will fail to find one, but just as surely will he lose the only true goal that is given to him. Think of the cost and understand it well. All goals are at the cost of God. You need not ask explicitly. You don't have to be saying to God, oh, I want a bigger house. The very fact that the thought is in your mind means you're misidentified. You're holding on to the little I. You're refusing the miracle. You're going, salvation is not here in this moment. It's when I have a bigger house. It's when the body gets better. You don't have to ask. You don't have to be down on your knees going, oh, please, God, cure the pain in my toe. You don't have to do that, right? The very fact that you have it as a desire means you don't know who you are. And the keeping of that desire, instead of the forgiving of it, will keep you from God, will keep you from real health, which has nothing to do with the body, which has nothing to do with you. Lesson 8. The one wholly true thought we can hold about the past is that it's not here now. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. Now is real. Past and future are a bunch of thoughts in your mind. They're not real. They're imaginary. They make it seem like there's time. A past where there's sin and a future where there's death. They're thoughts. They are not here now. They are illusions because they're not in the now, and there's no other time than this one. If you stop thinking right now, can the past exist? Can the future exist? They don't exist. There's now. That's it. Where salvation is, where God is. But the little I is at war with the now, and it lives in its thoughts of the terrible past and the things it's learned in the past that will make it happy. And it looks into an imaginary future made of thoughts, but it might attain those things and no lasting happiness. And the whole thing's made up. There's only now. You are the now. But you think you're a little lie because you're identified with thoughts. To continue, very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or in anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it's not really thinking about anything. You, what you are. When the voice in your head is talking about my guilty past and my victimized past and all the bad things that happened, and if I could just win the lotto, if I could meet the right person, then I'd be happy. Your mind's blank. That's not you. Those thoughts are just happening all by themselves. They're a thought system. They don't belong to anyone. No one owns them. No one's thinking them. They're just an appearance. They mean nothing. And when you think you're thinking them, your mind's blank because you're not thinking them. Nothing to do with you. You don't have a past or future. They're thoughts. That's the little lie made out of thoughts with its guilty past and terrifying future. It's a story about no one. It's not you. It's just thoughts. Manual, chapter 24, paragraph 6. The emphasis of this course always remains the same. It is at this moment that complete salvation is offered you, and it is at this moment you can accept it. This is still your one responsibility. Atonement can be equated with a total escape from the past and a total lack of interest in the future. Heaven is here, outside of thoughts of past and future. Escape from the past, what does that mean? Escape from thoughts. There is no past, there's just thoughts. Total lack of interest in the future. What's that about? Thoughts. Heaven is here. There's nowhere else. Heaven is now. There's no other time. No teaching that does not lead to this is of concern to God's teachers. Not when you win the lottery, not when your finances improve, not when you have a different house, not when the pain in your toe goes. It's now. Salvation is now. It's this moment forgiven. Because that is the only thing that will show you that the little lie isn't you. That the liking and hating machine in your mind, the grasping and grievances machine, that's not you. This moment forgiven brings you home to the truth of what you are, but not just what you are, what everyone is. The only moment you want is now, exactly as it is. That's sanity. Because in this moment, the guilt and fear in my mind is coming up, and the little lie, the liking and hating machine, is pushing and pulling on it, going up into thoughts, going, how do I fix it? And the course is going, you have to see, you have to look, you have to forgive the guilt and the fear in your mind that's coming up without any stories about it, without trying to escape it, without trying to medicate it. You have to look, to have it undone. And this present moment is blessing you by showing you guilt that was unconscious and now it's not. And you get to forgive it, to accept this moment exactly as it is and have it be undone. That's the blessing that's always inherent right now. If you want to remember what you are, you have to undo the guilt and fear in your mind. And the present moment's always perfect. This moment is always perfect to show it to you. You can't push and pull on it. You have to forgive it. You have to accept it. You welcome this moment, which is where salvation is, where the little lie begins dissolving. The truth of what you are shines forward. Or it says, through him, the Holy Spirit, you learn how to forgive the self you think you made. That liking and hating machine, the grasping and grievances machine, the personal goals machine. You forgive it and it disappears, and you know the truth of what you are. All this work is done now. All happiness will be found now through forgiveness. You will find only misery and death in the future, which is just thoughts and an imaginary misery and future. But it won't seem that way. This is lesson 268. Let all things be exactly as they are. Let me not be your critic, Lord, today, and judge against you. Let me not attempt to interfere with your creation and distort it into sickly forms. Let me be willing to withdraw my wishes from its unity and thus to let it be as you created it. For thus will I be able to recognize my capital S self as you created me. In love was I created, and in love will I remain forever. What can frighten me when I let all things be exactly as they are? Let not our sight be blasphemous today, nor let our ears attend to lying tongues. Only reality is free of pain. Only reality is free of loss. Only reality is wholly safe. And it is only this we seek today. How do we seek it? This moment, accepted and forgiven exactly as it is where you find reality, where you find the truth of what you are that has nothing to do with an insane voice talking to itself and chasing ridiculous goals in the future that it will somehow save it. That's not reality. That's the wild illusion, frantic and distraught with no reality whatsoever. It's the self you made that's not you. It's a misidentification. It's a mistake, a really painful one. And it's kept in place by seeking and resisting, by grasping in grievances, because there's nothing to the little lie except that. When this moment is accepted exactly as it is, There's no little I. All it is a war with the present moment. What you call me is just a war with the present moment. And this moment is allowed to be exactly as it is. There's no little I. There is just this moment, which is what you are and what everyone is with you. Forgiveness brings me everything I want. Not winning the lottery, not a new relationship, not the end of the pain in the big toe. None of that. Forgiveness restores the real happiness to you, not the ego's pleasure, genuine happiness outside of the little lie, misidentification, the abomination you thought was you, trying to save itself. What can frighten me when I let all things be exactly as they are? That's the point. When the seeking and the resisting stop, when thoughts are allowed to be thoughts, when feelings are allowed to be feelings, when the world is allowed to world and all of it is welcome, there's no frightened little I. There is pure unbound consciousness. My defenselessness, my safety lies. No seeking or resisting. This moment embraced. The sadness and the happiness, the grief and the excitement. This moment embraced. No resistance to it. No little I. But what's here is the Son of God. Pure unbound consciousness, which is the truth of everything and everyone. When this quiet place is discovered, the Course calls it the holy place where thoughts can enter not, that they could never soil with stories about lack and future goals that'll fix it. Never, ever had any effect here in the holy place, which is the truth of who you are. And the minute you discover it, you look out and it's what everyone is. Everything else was just thought. Wild illusion. Let all things be exactly as they are. Let me not be your critic, Lord, and judge against it. It's not saying God made this world of death. He didn't make the dream of death. Let me not attempt to interfere with your creation and distort it into sickly forms. God did not create any of these appearances, but all these appearances are the appearance of God's creation with no effect on it. This is the holy place that you find in yourself through forgiveness, and you see it as the truth of everything and everyone you're looking at. Heaven appearing is hell, but it's just an illusion and it's still heaven. But distorting it into sickly forms means you have preferences. He says that's a good bit and that's a bad bit. I want that and I don't want that. Everything is the same. Holiness appearing as an illusion and it's still holiness. Storylessness is appearing as stories and is still storyless. Or will you see the storylessness, the invulnerability, the freedom from concept everywhere? Or will you distort it into sickly forms? Oh, I want that house, but I don't want that house. Will you see they're the same when the seeking and the resisting stops? That everything is the same. When you look at this liking and hating machine in your mind and go, that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Yes, there's a world. Doesn't mean anything. Yes, there's a voice in your head, the little I, that's insane, and it's putting a meaning on the whole thing, that it has something to do with something other than forgiveness. And that doesn't mean anything. The world is worlding. It doesn't mean anything. Thoughts are thoughting. Doesn't mean anything. Emotions are coming up. Doesn't mean anything. It's all the same. It's holiness appearing as this moment. And you are that. But so is everyone. That's what forgiveness wants to teach you. That's what everything that's happening is for. That's what your own best interest is. To realize those thoughts in your mind, those stories, and that seeking and resisting, and that's not you. It's got nothing to do with you. Wholeness and peace is already here. It's your birthright. You've never lost it. You just mixed yourself up with thoughts of good and bad and right and wrong. Forgiveness is how you come with wholly empty hands onto your God without any of those thoughts. They don't mean anything. You don't have to stop them. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to change them. You have to look at them and go, they're just thoughts. They don't mean anything. Look at that liking and hating machine in my mind. Doesn't mean anything. Forgiveness. What sees this? Unbound consciousness. Lesson 71. The ego's plan for salvation centers around holding grievances. I don't want it. Shouldn't be happening. I don't deserve it. Why is it happening to me? Why is it not happening to someone else? The past is responsible for my misery. That's grievances. Grievances with all things working together for good. Grievances with the present moment, the now, which is here for you to remember what you are and know happiness. So the Holy Spirit's plan for salvation is this moment exactly as it is given. The ego's plan for salvation is grievances with this moment. So to continue, it maintains that if someone else spoke or acted differently, if some external circumstance or event were changed, you would be saved. You'd be happy. If that didn't happen, if that person didn't die, the body didn't get sick, if I didn't lose the house, these are the lies. You'd be saved. Now you'd be happy. Thus, the source of salvation is constantly perceived as outside yourself. Each grievance you hold is a declaration and an assertion in which you believe that says, if this were different, I would be saved. The change of mind necessary for salvation is thus demanded of everyone and everything except yourself. If this were different, I would be saved. That's the ego's lie. It's the seeking and resisting. It's the war against the now. It's the liking and hating machine. It's the veil across salvation. If this were different, I'd be happy. That's the ego's lie. And the Holy Spirit's salvation says, if this was forgiven, you would know the happiness that you've been all along. Chapter 4, Section 5, Paragraph 1. All things work together for good. There are no exceptions except in the ego's judgment. Everything's always perfect. It's exactly what you need to awaken from the little lie, from the liking and hating machine that you think is you. And it's not. From the voice in your head, the wild illusion that has nothing to do with you. All things are working together for that good always. Everything's always perfect. So what would you manifest? It's already perfect. It'll always be perfect. Why do you have to not be here in the present moment where God is, saying, no, 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 it's not quite perfect. It's not quite all things working together for good. Still have a pain in my toe. Everything is already perfect. All you want is this moment. Everything else is insanity. It's masochism. It is this moment you want. So you can learn how to forgive it exactly as it is. And discover what you are that has nothing to do with a little I self, a liking and hating machine, but pure unbound consciousness itself. The only moment you want is this one exactly as it is. Or you're insane, masochistic, seeking but not finding, until death puts you out of your misery. Chapter 31, Section 4, Paragraph 1. There is a tendency to think the world can offer consolation and escape from problems, that its purpose is to keep. Why should this be? Because it is a place where choice among illusions, this one's good, this one's bad, this one will help me, this one doesn't, I'll push this one away, I'll pull this one towards me, because it is a place where choice among illusions seems to be the only choice. And you're in control of outcomes of your choosing. Thus, you think within the narrow band from birth to death, a little time is given you to use for you alone, the little I, a time when everyone conflicts with you. But you can choose which road will lead you out of conflict. Will I have this job or that job? Will I get rid of this relationship and have a new relationship? Oh, it seems you can choose which road will lead you out of conflict. New career, and away from difficulties that concern you not. Yet they are your concern. How then can you escape from them by leaving them behind? What must go with you? The little I. Once you're seeking and resisting, once you're not in the now, once you've rejected the now, once you have declared war on the now for a better moment, what must go with you? You will take with you whatever road you choose to walk along. The little I, the actual cause of all your pain, the misidentification that hides from you the glory of what you are. Real choice is no illusion, but the world has none to offer. All its roads but lead to disappointment, nothingness, and death. There is no choice in its alternatives. Seek not escape from problems here. In your seeking and resisting, You're pushing and you're pulling. You're grasping in your grievances. The world was made that problems could not be escaped. The only problem you have is that you think you're something with pain that has to medicate itself with future pleasure. And everything you do, seem to do, reinforces that illusion of yourself, that you're not already happy outside of seeking and resisting. Be not deceived by all the different names its roads are given. They have but one end, and each is but the means to gain that end. For it is here that all its roads will lead, however differently they seem to start, however differently they seem to go. Their end is certain, and there is no choice among them. All of them will lead to death. That you're a body, lacking and needing and wanting, clawing and scraping for the little scraps of happiness it can get, and terrified of its death. Every goal you cherish leads you to that. The only goal you want is now, and learning the forgiveness of this moment, which is perfect for you exactly as it is. Everything else is the choice for death. It's insanity. It's masochism. It's madness. All of them will lead to death. On some, you travel gaily for a while. The honeymoon phase in the relationship. Before the bleakness enters. Spend your whole life going, I'll be happy when I finally meet a relationship. 6 months after the wedding, you're upset because there's urine on the toilet seat. There's dirty socks, and all the pain is back. Because the relationship didn't fix you, didn't fix the little lie. It's still miserable. Now it needs new stuff to bitch about and to chase moving goalposts forever. On some, you travel gaily for a while before the bleakness enters. Nothing's ever good enough. Happiness never lasts. The pain comes back of the little lie. That pleasure was temporarily sedating. And on some, the thorns are felt at once. The choice is not what will the ending be, but when it comes. Misery. Seek but do not find. Depression, hopelessness, anxiety. There is no choice where every end is sure. Perhaps you would prefer to try them all before you really learn they are but one. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we really do need to try them all before we're ready for the other way. And everyone has a different pain threshold. How long will you keep blaming things in the world for your unhappiness? How long will you keep lying to yourself? If I can just change this, I will be happy. When will you acknowledge that it doesn't last? You get a moment's pleasure before the pain comes back, before you're bitching about the next thing, before you're fighting with the next person, before you have a new goal in the future, which keeps me well safe of God, because He's just now. The roads this world can offer seem to be quite large in number, but the time must come when everyone begins to see how like they are to one another. The pleasure never turns into happiness. It's never permanent. It's never enough. The seeking and resisting never stops. The dissatisfaction, the hatred of yourself and everyone else when you think you're a little me, a little I, the self that's not the Son of God, the insane voice talking to itself. But the time must come when everyone begins to see how like they are to one another. Men have died on seeing this because they saw no way except the pathways offered by the world. None of us have to search very far in our minds for the tragedy of suicide. It touches everyone's life. That's the pain of the little I. That's what can happen when you look and go, nothing works. Nothing lasts. Nothing brings happiness. There is another way. You have to exhaust it, all the lies. Have you been down enough paths? Have you listened to enough lies? The good and the bad and the right and the wrong and my preferences and my aversions and what I want and what I don't want. Have you are you sick of it yet? Are you sick of it? Because the other way is forgiveness. Wanting nothing except this moment and the feelings it's bringing up in you to heal when you do nothing. When all experience is welcome. I want the world exactly as it is because I know it's all things working together for good and there's no exception. That's what I want. Do I want something else? No, I do not want anything except this moment because that's what will bring me home to God. I want this moment exactly as it is. I want the tragedy and the pain exactly as it is. I want the gains and the losses exactly as they are. To learn forgiveness and remember God. That's what I want. And nothing else. And yet this was the time, hopelessness. They could have learned their greatest lesson. No more seeking and resisting. This moment forgiven. All must reach this point and go beyond it. It is true indeed, there was no choice at all within the world. But this is not the lesson in itself. The lesson is a purpose. And in this, you come to understand what it is for, what everything is for. Forgiveness ends seeking and resisting. In the absence of the seeking and resisting, in this moment welcomed, in the absence of pushing and pulling, you discover an inviolable freedom, which is the very essence of what you are. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with an insane voice talking to itself. Doesn't have a past or future, but it's shining in your mind right now. Right now, it's the very essence of what you are in this moment, except you keep overlooking it to jump into graspings and grievances, special love and special hate. I like this and I don't like that. I'm going to push this away and I'm going to put that away. You're overlooking the happiness which has been here all along to mind wander in the liking and hating machine that has nothing to do with you. This is the purpose of our practice. To realize what you've been overlooking that was under your nose all the time. It's closer than the insane voice talking to itself. It's closer than the liking and hating machine. It's more essentially the very nature of what you are, and it's always been here, hidden by seeking and resisting, revealed by total forgiveness. But it's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with a little I. It's got nothing to do with a creature of time. Those are stories. Come with a holy empty hand unto your God without those stories, and what are you? What everyone is. Saved. Only forgiveness can bring us home. Only the end of seeking and resisting, pushing and pulling. Only this moment forgiven, the now forgiven. That's the portal. Chapter 29, Section 7, Paragraph 1. Seek not outside yourself, for all your pain comes simply from a futile search for what you want, happiness, insisting where it must be found. What if it's not there? Do you prefer that you be right, that you'll find your happiness in the world, even though it's never been true? Do you prefer to be right or happy? Be you glad that you are told where happiness abides. And seek no longer elsewhere. You will fail, but it is given you to know the truth and not to seek for it outside yourself. You want to discover what you are when there is no resistance to this moment. Forgiveness brings you home. It frees you from the misidentification with the liking and hating machine. That has nothing to do with you. It's just thoughts. Nothing. There's no identity in them. Course in Miracles says the real world is the state of mind where it is recognized that the only purpose of the world is for forgiveness. This moment, exactly as it is, forgiven. Whatever thoughts that are only thoughts are allowed to be thoughts. Whatever emotions that are only emotions are allowed to be emotions. And the world calibrated perfectly to show them to me. So I can be with them without thinking them, without pushing and pulling on them, without trying to fix them, without saying, Holy Spirit, take them off me, take them off me. Forgiven. It's welcome. This moment, exactly as it is, so I can remember what I am. That doesn't mean there's no oppositional thoughts in your mind. That's not you. That's the liking and hating machine. That's got nothing to do with your identity. Those are thoughts. They don't mean anything. You don't have to do anything with those oppositional thoughts. You have to not oppose them. You have to stop pushing and pulling on them, trying to get rid of them, trying to put in holy ones. Forgiven. In forgiveness, unbound consciousness, gentleness, peace is discovered. And it was here all along. It was underneath the grievances and the seekings. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. Doesn't mean anything. You're putting a meaning on it, going, that's a good bit, that's a bad bit, I want more of that, don't want that, that's making me unhappy, this will make me happy. That's all made up. That's the liking and hating machine. That's nonsense. That's not what's here. There is a world here exactly what it should be for your forgiveness process to remember what you are. That's what's here. All the rest of that's nonsense and unhappiness. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing I see means anything. I've given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. Whole load of nonsense. It's for forgiveness. Always is no more than that. It is not less. Therefore, to you, it's important. It's the witness to your state of mind. Things are happening in the world, and the liking and hating machine is holding grievances and judgments, pushing and pulling, screaming, roaring. But unconscious guilt has come up. Unconscious suffering of the little I has come up. And that's the purpose of the world, to show it to you. It's why your brother's your savior. In the Course, it says, I want your gratitude to your brother when you think he's attacking you. I want your gratitude to him. You want this moment because of what it's going to show you in your mind. The awfulness, the suffering of the little I is going to come up and be healed by the truth of what you are when there's no judgment. When this moment is given permission to be exactly as it is. When pushing and pulling stops and forgiveness starts. This is the only war you'll ever win by refusing to fight anything. You win because you remember what you are. But you refuse to fight anything. All experience is what it should be, and it's welcome. That's forgiveness. Because something is here in the welcome. In the beginning, it's a little glimmer, little thoughtless space. When the moment is welcome, when there's no pushing and pulling on it. When I want the now and nothing else. When I throw down my arms and refuse to fight any aspect of this present moment. Something is here in the welcome. In the beginning, it's neutral. It's just a little thoughtless space there glimmering. But I keep welcoming every single experience and refusing to fight with anything, including the thoughts that are fighting with everything in my mind. I don't fight with them. They don't mean anything. As I learn the art of fighting with nothing, that little glimmer starts to shine. Until it's a blazing light that encompasses the entire world. The holy place where thoughts can enter not, everywhere, and everywhere as the holy place where thoughts can enter not. No separation anywhere. Only forgiveness can take me here, out of illusions, out of the little I misidentification, into the holy instant, where the forms, the broken pieces seem to take me nothing, and the whole is in each one, and every aspect of the Son of God is just the same as every other part. And as you see it as the truth of everyone and refuse to believe in the little lie they're tortured with, it begins to shine in their mind as well as yours. That's the atonement. That will be your part when you free yourself from the little lie. Everyone starts to feel the draw to disidentify from the little lie, from the seeking and the resisting, to the freedom that's found in the uncompromising acceptance and forgiveness of this moment exactly as it is. The world you see, which is really your thoughts about what you're seeing, is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. Yeah, sin, guilt, and fear. Brilliant. It's got to be seen. Bring it on. The world is going to be perfectly calibrated to show you all of these batches of sin, guilt, and fear in your mind, all the suffering that's here of the little lie. The world's going to come up out of your unconscious and try to vomit onto the world and go, you did this to me in the past, and I'll get even with you in the future, and that's my salvation. Nonsense. But I go, no, hang on a minute. Everything's welcome. This is all perfect. This suffering is welcome. I will not push and pull on it. I will not have a grievance with it. I will not try to escape it with a goal. I know heaven's here in my total forgiveness of it. Because that's how I remember what I am. But it's also what everyone is. In that total forgiveness, I discover the luminous wholeness outside of thoughts and concepts. And the background swaps into the foreground and floods the whole world with the same holiness. And it wipes out aversions and preferences. It wipes out that there's good things and bad things and things that should be here and shouldn't be here. That's why the quote continues. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. You're projecting the reactions you want to have. You're taking the suffering of the little lie and projecting it out and going, you did this to me. Perception is a result and not a cause. And that is why order of difficulty of miracles is meaningless. Hear this well. Everything looked upon with vision, when I discover the holy place, never violated by thoughts, where there can be no story about what I am, only the limitlessness of it, through total forgiveness of the now. And I come home to this through forgiveness. It is the truth of everything exactly as it is. That's vision. Everything is the same. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Now, no matter what it is, nothing perceived without it means anything. None of your preferences and aversions and the good and the bad and I want it and I don't want it and I'll push it away and I'll pull on it. That doesn't mean anything. It's nonsense. It's delusion. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy already. Nothing perceived without it, with that nonsense in your head, the liking and hating machine, means anything. And where there's no meaning, there's chaos. Forgiveness of this moment exactly as it is, and wanting no moment but this one. That's salvation. That's where happiness is. Everything else is a lie. Let's finish our quotes with this one. Hmm. Thought I had one ready, but so I'm going to go with a different one to finish with. It's from chapter 15, section 5, paragraph 8. In the holy instant, which is this moment perfectly forgiven, and you remember what you are, that's not a collection of thoughts. The holy place, thoughts can't violate, that has no story. Storylessness. That's the holy instant. Storylessness. Yes, there's a liking and hating machine in your mind, but it doesn't mean anything. You're storylessness. And forgiveness brings you home to the storylessness, where there is invulnerability and wholeness and indivisibility. In the holy instant, no one is special. No one's different. The storylessness is the truth of everyone, making everything one, healed and holy already. In the holy instant, no one is special, different, one self everywhere, pure storylessness and invulnerability. For your personal needs intrude on no one to make your brother seem different. You don't have personal mind. Remember what the lesson told us. You don't have personal needs. You're not a person. You're not that story in your mind about something that's lacking, that needs stuff. It's a story. None of those thoughts in your mind are you. No personal goals are yours because you're not a person. When you see through that, personal needs intrude on no one to make your brothers seem different, like they're different selves. Good ones and bad ones and right ones and wrong ones, they're already healed and holy. They are the storylessness that is the Son of God already. Without the values from the past. What's the values from the past? Thoughts. You would see them all the same and like yourself. Nor would you see any separation between yourself and them. In the holy instant, you see in each relationship what it will be when you perceive only the present. Well, I can't resist finishing it. I'm going to look up the quote that I haven't prepared earlier as I thought, but it's easy to find. Here's how we're going to sum up everything we've said today. So does A Course in Miracles, is it compatible with manifesting? No. Does that mean manifesting is evil? No. If you still want to travel those roads to discover they all lead nowhere, you should do it. You just shouldn't tell yourself it's what A Course in Miracles is saying. Course in Miracles says your salvation's now. Everything's already perfect. All things are working together for good. The insane voice in your head that thinks it wants a different moment than this one isn't you. Don't listen to it. Forgive this moment exactly as it is and want nothing else. That's what A Course in Miracles says. But if you want to manifest, and don't be going wiping everyone's nose in it that's doing manifestation, that's their path. And if you want to go and do manifestation because you're still convinced you can save the little I, you knock yourself out and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You've got to walk those roads till you realize they're all the same. And A Course in Miracles will be ready for you in the now. So let's wrap it up with this. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Perfect trust would solve every problem now. Wanting this moment, perfectly forgiven and nothing else. Knowing it is for your best interest. Knowing it is for your discovery of what real happiness is. Cool. I'm shocked to discover there's still 139 people here live. We haven't lost too many. Would anyone like to ask a question? If you do, use your virtual hand. If you haven't lost the power of speech after that, to raid. Bridget, I see your hand is up. My lovely assistant Linda will send you a request to take yourself off mute.
Hello, Keith.
Hello,
This was
Bridget.
just what I needed to hear at this point. In fact, I've
Good.
just replied to your message from entering. As far as the manifesting is concerned, my gut feeling about that is you've got to be in the right space first. That you've got to come from love, and then everything else will be added. Because you're then in the creator mode. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
no.
No. Okay.
I do not know what anything is for. I do not know my own best interests. How do I know that? Because I'm refusing the present moment. I'm going, no, I need to manifest something. I want it to be different. I don't know my own best interest. My own best interest would be to forgive this moment instead of trying to escape it.
I don't
So,
mean that, Keith.
no, 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 no. Bear with me. Bear with me.
Okay.
A Course in Miracles says consciously selected miracles are misguided. You would never, ever set out with an outcome. You would never decide what I need is for this moment to be different and for this to happen because I know what's best. I should make this happen. I should make that happen. No, 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 no. You want all things working together for good. Your opinion isn't required on that. If you have an opinion other than that, it's wrong. What we want is this moment exactly as it is. What we want is this moment always exactly all things working together for good. What we want is no argument with it. What we want is nothing except this moment because that's where God is. So I do understand what you're saying, Bridget, in the sense that, let me tell you, we know this was the case with Jesus. Ramana Maharshi had all these followers. Nisargadatta Maharaj had all these followers. Regularly, someone would come up and go, oh my God, all my pain from the past is gone. All my sadness and grief is just gone. Just being around you. And they'd come up and they'd go, do you know something? I've been sick for the last 2 years. I'm after sitting and listening and being in your presence and it's gone. Same thing happened with Jesus. Same thing happened with Nisargadatta Maharaj. Did they ever set an intention for something to happen to a body? No. That will be to attack their brothers, to see them as bodies. And to say that changing something with your body will save you. They would never do that. What healing is knowing the truth of what your brother is. And at the level of the dream, strange stuff will happen, but it's never consciously directed, ever. If you work on wanting nothing but this moment and perfecting the art of its forgiveness, weird stuff will happen synchronistically. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time for things to fall into place. It'll seem like magic, but not for your happiness. Not for your happiness. It happens because you know where happiness is, and you are not seeking for it outside yourself. When that happens, you shift from thinking to intuition and knowing. Now that you don't need the world to be any way at all, you want it the way it is, perfectly forgiven. Things start working differently. The minute you think that's important, you've gone into ignorance again. The only thing it is a sign that you're working on true happiness on the inside. And the outside world begins to reflect it in its own ways. But you would never say how the outside world should be. You would never attack your brother to see them as a sick body, to visualize them being healed as a body. You would never do that. All that does is reinforce to your brother that he's a body and reinforce to you that you're a body, that you're a little I. You would never do that. That wouldn't be what the Course is saying. The Course is saying you should have complete disinterest in your brother's body. Let me take a quick quote on that before. Because we have this idea. What happens is we hear about someone that's terribly sick, tragic circumstances, and the first thing that happens, and when you work on yourself, you'll catch it. I'm going to say it now, and you'll be horrified, face of innocent, going, I'd never do that. The first thing you hear about someone that something awful's happened and this has happened to their body is unconscious. Well, what you'll do, a thought will arise that says, thank God it's them and not me.
I don't
Always.
think.
No, no, listen, Bridget. All the me is murderous. It hates itself, it hates everyone, and it wants to save itself by everyone else getting damned instead of itself. Once we misidentify unconsciously, the first reaction we have in a situation is to go, thank God it's not me. However, that's followed by terrible guilt and it's driven into the unconscious and repressed. And now we have reaction formation where we act the exact opposite on the outside than we did on the inside. So what do? We start sending love and light. See? We say, I'm sending you love and light. See? That's reaction formation. Unconsciously, the ego, the little I, the me, is murderous. It loves death. Everyone else's and its own. It loves it. Horse says that it's not the fear of death, it's the attraction of death. The individual delusion loves death. But it, in direct proportion with how much it loves death, it will act the opposite on the outside and act like it fears death. And once it's in its mind went, well, thank God, God's punishing them with bad health and not me. Then the guilt is there, and then it starts sending love and light. It comes from guilt. It comes from attack. Because I've attacked myself to be a body and I've attacked someone else to see them as a body. And now I'm going to say, oh, love and light to your body. That's an attack. Your brother's not a body. So this is not healing. Instead, I want to remember what I am and know it's the truth of my brother. And it has nothing to do with concepts. It is storylessness. And it has nothing to do with a body. So here's a lovely quote. Let me dig it out here. Yeah, this is chapter 20, section 8, paragraph 3. Your brother's sinlessness is given you in shining light. That means not separate. The same holiness you are. To look on with the Holy Spirit's vision and to rejoice in along with him. For peace will come to all who ask for it with real desire and sincerity of purpose, shared with the Holy Spirit and at one with him on what salvation is. Be willing then to see your brother sinless, that Christ may rise before your vision and give you joy. And place no value on your brother's body, which holds him to illusions of what he is. It is his desire to see his sinlessness, to know what he really is, as it's yours. And bless the Son of God in your relationship, nor see in him what you have made of him, which is a body. So we would never consciously direct a miracle, ever. So that rules manifestation out. What we want to do is know the truth of who we are, the truth of what our brother is, and will that have an extension in the dream? Yes. And I know it will be all things working together for good. I would never set out to say this will happen to a body. I would never set out and go, this is what must happen in the world. All I do is see the truth of myself and know it's the truth of my brother.
And let the outcome be what it is.
Yes. The miracle needs no, the extension of the miracle needs no assistance from us at a conscious level whatsoever, or it's misdirected. Um, All it needs is for us to initiate it, to share an identity. And that will now contribute to all things working together for good. I haven't. I'm not eating from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I'm not pretending I know what's in my brother's best interests. I'm not pretending I know what his atonement path is. How do I know his greatest forgiveness lesson won't be in the half hour before he dies? And here I am, the holy ego, going, I know what everything's for. I will manifest this. I will manifest. He'll rise up from his bed and deny him salvation. The world has no purpose other than forgiveness. It is unfolding exactly as it should. So I would never, ever say what should happen to someone else. That would be misguided. What I want is to see the truth of who they are and know it is what I am with them. To share an identity is the miracle. What comes from that, that's the Holy Spirit's job. And I know it will be all things working together for good. My only job is total acceptance and forgiveness of the present moment, to know who I am and share that as an identity with my brother, no matter what he thinks he is. The Holy Spirit will do whatever is all things working together for good. I don't need an opinion on that. I know there are no exceptions. All things work together for good. There's no exceptions. So I would never be the holy ego going, I know what everything's for. I know what's good for someone else. I know what should happen on their atonement path. I would never do that. I would never do that in mine. I would never say, oh, my miracle is the body has to recover in a certain way. What does that do? That just tells me I'm a body. No, I want to forgive the body exactly as it is so I can remember what I am and share that with someone else. Whatever comes of that will be all things working together for good. I don't need an opinion on it. So I understand what you're saying, Bridget, in the sense that miraculous things happen, but they don't matter. They don't mean anything. The the Course in Miracles says miracles as such, and it's talking about the extension of miracles. Miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source. Their source is the love that we all are as one. Will extensions come from that? Yes, but they're totally unpredictable, random. It will make no sense to the insane voice talking to itself. That's the Holy Spirit script. I've offered the Holy Spirit the miracle. And what will come of that is all things working together for good. That could be someone forgiving a family member at their death. That will be the miracle, that forgiveness. Doesn't mean bodies are rising up from the bed, marching out of hospital, and I'm there going, I'm the holy ego, I'm the miracle worker. See, it's not that. It's not that. That's what the ego wants it to be. The world has no purpose except forgiveness. And it's perfect. Everything is as it should be. So miraculous things will happen, Bridget. But they don't mean anything and they're not important. What matters is knowing the truth of what you are through total forgiveness of this moment, the acceptance of it, not the seeking to make it different, and the trusting that all things are working together for good. By that, I know what I am as unbound consciousness. And I share that with my brother. That's me pushing the miracle out there. It will happen as it's meant to happen. I would never direct it. Does that make sense?
Does.
Thanks a million, Bridget.
Thanks.
All right, Marcia, we'll take your question. We haven't any others, so we'll draw a line under yourself. My lovely assistant will give you an opportunity to unmute.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay. This is great. Yeah, you can't direct the miracle. I was a Reiki, person for years and years, and I still have a friend calling me, oh, my gut hurts. I need some Reiki. Oh, this, oh, that. Send me some. Well, I've established this relationship with her, like we're Reiki buddies. So now I've gotten to the point where I think, well, I I just say, okay, I sent it. Is that okay to do? Or do I say, no, Linda, I don't do that anymore? Um,
Verse tells us that the only purpose you should ask of anything is what is it for?
mhm,
All right.
right,
Shakespeare says
right,
nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
right.
What is its purpose? Now, let me say, in defense of Reiki, that the distance healing symbol, Hon
Mhm.
Shazay Shodan, is the Christ in me sees the Christ in you. Shared identity.
I like that. Yeah.
Sharing an identity.
Mhm.
Now, so instead of just waving your hands and saying words, we use forgiveness to genuinely share identity. So I let go of the little lie misidentification. How do I do that? I look at all the thoughts that are going on in my mind and go, that's not me. Doesn't
Mhm.
mean anything.
Mhm.
Well, what's here outside of thoughts? What is this pure stillness that's here? When I go, they're just thoughts. I don't fight them or get rid of them. I go, they're thoughts. They're nothing. What is storylessness? The little I is just a story in my mind. It's just thoughts. What happens when I go, but I'm storyless? When I feel storyless, I know storylessness. I am storylessness. That's the holy instant. Now I see my friend as storylessness. That's shared identity. I'm not seeing them as a body. I'm not trying to heal the bodies. I don't. You just. We just read the course says you should have no interest in your brother's body whatsoever. Your only interest is in knowing who he is and sharing that identity with him.
Mhm.
And that will bring the healing that's required, which is none of your business.
Right.
So that's a beautiful way for anyone who does Reiki. All right. Um,
Mhm.
instead of playing lip service to the Christ in me sees the Christ in you, you use forgiveness, total forgiveness of this moment, and total forgiveness of all the thoughts in your mind that are not you, and go, that's not me. They're stories. I'm storylessness. What is storylessness? And what is the storylessness? Myself and my brother are as one. This is the identity we share. Well, that's genuine. That's the healing of A Course in Miracles. That's all that's asked of you. Refuse to see your brother as a body. Don't be sending love and light to it.
No, no.
Refuse to see them as a body. Share that identity of Christ, which has nothing to do with a little I. Stop selfing and othering. Horse
Mhm.
says the problem is you think you're one self and your brother is a different self.
Right.
Okay, that's attack. You've attacked yourself, and now you're attacking your brother to see him as an ego the way you see yourself. So, what you do is you use the miracle to drop your belief in both dream figures. You stop believing in the self and the other, and you share an identity as changelessness and storylessness. But the means of that is that you must see your brother with absolutely no judgment. You must allow this moment to be exactly what it is and not push or pull on it. And the
That's
quiet
great.
comes. Yeah, the
I love
quiet comes. And that quiet is shared identity. And that is where all healing comes from.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Just real quick, my husband is still, after 6 weeks, he's still in a rehab. I haven't seen him for 6 weeks. He's had trouble breathing, blah, blah, blah. It's a story. And, we're both getting up there in our age and blah, blah, blah. And what am I going to do? What if he never can never breathe again without, all the what ifs in the story again. So, we've been given a really good opportunity to just look at everything, welcome the moment. So, yeah, I noticed that I'm afraid that I'll never come home again or whatever. But I really am really trying to. And then, of course, I get into the Reiki thing. I'll send
But
you some
what
more.
if, but just on that, Marcia, what if that I'm worried about this and I want this to happen and I don't want it to happen? What if that's not you?
Oh, yeah.
What if that voice in your head has nothing to do with what you are?
Yeah. I
That's
just
the
can't get in
entire
touch with
message.
that.
That's the entire message of today is that liking and hating and seeking and resisting and wanting and needing and pushing and put that's just a mechanism of thought, and there's no identity in it. That's not you. So the answer is you welcome it. That's allowed to be there because it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That activity of the mind is nothing. These thoughts do not mean anything. That's not you. When you genuinely look at the activity of all thoughts in your mind and go, that's nothing. That doesn't mean anything. Yes, there's thoughts there, they mean nothing. A whole different consciousness starts to rise in you. The quiet comes to tell you of yourself and your brothers.
It seems like that's what I'm waiting for, but that's
No,
saying it's
you can't.
not
No,
there.
no, no,
It's
Marcia. That's you
there.
seeking your salvation in the next moment.
Ah, God.
You've
Ah,
identified with the liking and hating that wants a future moment to save it. You have
I
to
know.
get there by realizing you're already there. The problem is a thought happened going, I'm waiting for it. And you said, oh, that's my thought. I am the story
Yeah, yeah,
of a
yeah, yeah.
person that's waiting for something to happen.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but but
You've
but
told me.
Marcia, no, no, no. You have to let the whole story go. The,
So,
the the one who's waiting for something to happen is a story you're telling yourself about no one.
right,
What happens
right.
if you let that story go?
I
What's
don't know. I mean, you just sit there
I
and
don't
let it
no
go.
no 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 I don't know as a thought. See, that's another thought and you didn't catch it. What
Well, I
if
just
all the what
go
if
outside and I sit and I look at the sun and I go, nothing, nothing, nothing. I think of, Rama Mama
no,
Harshi.
Marcia, you're not hearing me. No, 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 you're not hearing me.
Okay,
Thoughts. Thoughts are saying nothing, nothing, nothing. Thoughts are saying, I am a one who is looking at the sun. And in this story of this one who's looking at the sun, this one is experiencing nothing. You have to let that whole story go. There's no one there.
okay. Hey, well, I believe it, but I
No, no,
don't.
no, no. You keep jumping into thoughts. You keep not catching that thoughts are happening all by themselves. They're not yours.
Okay, I got that. I do. Yeah.
So the answer is let them. They don't mean anything. There's a story about a one who's looking for something to happen. It doesn't mean anything. There's a story about one who hasn't had future salvation. It doesn't mean anything. There's stories about what's good and bad and right and wrong, and they don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. It's forgiveness. There's a worlding. It doesn't mean anything. There's thoughts thoughting, and they don't mean anything. Now there's nothing fighting with anything. Something is here, not making a big deal out of anything. This is the other way. You become quiet in the midst of the me's turmoil. The me isn't you. You're the silence that a thought can't soil. You're the holy place thought can enter not. You are storylessness, which means there cannot be a story that you don't know what you are. There cannot be a story that you have to find out what you are in the future. That's a story. No story is about you. You are storyless. You're trying to keep a story of a one who wants something and is feeling thwarted and they can't get it. That's a story. All you do is drop the stories and you're home. No story is about you. You are outside of all stories. They cannot say what you are. You are as God created you. There's just stories you haven't yet said. That's just a story. It doesn't mean anything. That's when the silence comes. That's when the quiet comes. So
So
that's what
that's all it
forgiveness.
is. Yeah, it's
Yeah. So
forgetting
so
silence.
this
Yeah.
is this is all about unbinding yourself from thoughts. It
Yeah.
requires complete mercilessness with thoughts. As lesson four says, the good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult.
Mhm.
Um, in the holy place where thoughts can enter not. And the bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. But it
Right.
doesn't mean you go to war with them. But you have to start catching during your day. That's a thought. That's nothing to do with me. That doesn't mean anything. So there was thoughts coming in going, oh, I am a woman, I'm on this journey and I'm trying to find something, I'm trying to find myself and I don't know myself. And you didn't catch those thoughts and go, they don't mean anything. They have nothing to do with me. This is unbinding ourselves from thoughts. Let the moment be exactly as it is. Let thoughts be thoughts. They just don't mean anything. And let emotions be emotions. And feel them, don't think them. And want nothing but this moment exactly as it is. Whatever happens with your husband will be all things working together for good.
No.
You don't need to have an opinion on it.
Mhm.
You can't be saying, oh, I need it to be this way and that way, because that just means you're keeping the thing that's hurting you, the misidentification.
Mhm.
So you let go. You win the war by refusing to fight with anything. Whatever happens will be perfect. And whatever emotions come up are perfect. Feel them, don't think them. Don't say they're because of this and because of that. The whole world is to show them to you so they can be dissolved in forgiveness. Not pushed and pulled on, not thought about and projected
All
and have
that
stories
business.
about them.
Right, right,
No,
right,
feel them
right.
without the thoughts near them.
Yeah, right.
That's the purpose of the world. That's the only purpose the world has. How lovely is the world whose purpose is the forgiveness of God's Son. What can frighten me when I allow all things to be exactly as they are? That's perfect trust. How can I be upset by anything if I just accept it's exactly the way it's meant to be? I can't. It's the pushing and pulling. It's the likes and aversions. It's the special love and special hate. That's what hurts me. That's what frightens me. Is that things are not as they should be, and I need to try and control them, and I won't be able to. That's terror.
Yeah, it is.
But what can frighten me when I know this is exactly the way it's meant to be? I don't need to have an opinion on it. Now there's a whole different consciousness rising here. The quiet comes, grace comes, and tells you of yourself, but also tells you that it's the same thing that everyone else is with you. And it's got nothing to do with an insane voice talking to itself in your mind. That's what forgiveness is for. Brilliant. Thanks a million, Marcia.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks a million for your attention on this extra long meeting. I hope you got something out of it. We will catch up in the Facebook group during the week and we will do it all again next week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.